And now, Mr. Stark has prepared a statement. He will not be taking any questions. Thank you.
Been a while since I've been in front of you. I figure I'll stick to the cards this time. There's been a speculation that I was involved in an event that occurred on the freeway and the rooftop.
I'm sorry, Mr. Stark, but do you honestly expect us to believe that there was a bodyguard in a suit that conveniently appeared despite the fact that...
I know that is confusing. It is one thing to question the official story, and the other thing entirely to make wild accusations or insinuate that I am a superhero.
I never said you were a superhero.
Didn't?
Uh-uh.
Well, good, because that would be outlandish and fantastic. I'm just not the hero type, clearly, with this laundry list of character defects, all the mistakes I've made, largely public.
Just stick to the cards.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The truth is, I am Iron Man.
Ding, 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 ding,
Oh my God. Hello, hello, and welcome again to another episode of Science Fiction Remnant. I am not Iron Man. I am Robert.
I am Chaos Man.
And I'm the mad arc reactor scientist Ray down here in South.
South.
Thank you, not the South. Otherwise known as Australia.
So is it true, Ray? Do you come from the land down under?
Yes, I do.
The land of plenty.
Yep.
Oh God.
Would you like a Vegemite sandwich?
Yeah, careful there.
Oh God.
It's not code, it's
Love
actually
that song.
sandwich with Vegemite on it.
I have a feeling this is going to be one of those. One of those.
It is. It really is. So what have you guys been watching besides the IP we're covering, that is?
Well, sadly enough,
No Star Trek?
no Star Trek for my wife.
We made it,
The
Ray.
world has come to
We
an
have
end.
broken the cycle.
The world has come to an end. The Mayan calendar just finished. God damn.
I think we should go into the time machine and check this could break our reality.
I think it already has.
She's already looking forward for new shows. Like there's the last Lower Decks season coming on, and obviously we have Strange New Worlds coming, so she's looking forward for that, and of course the new Section 31 and the funny Star Trek that we don't know nothing about yet. So we're looking forward for those things. In the meantime,
You could always get her addicted to anime.
well, she kind of is. She is into Misaka Tensei.
Nice
So
choice.
she's watching that. She really, 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 really enjoys, which she finished already. Sword Art Online, and is around to pick up girls in the dungeon. She
I'm waiting for that one for a while now.
she enjoys those two very, very much. But
Nice.
we have to get her some sci-fi. So we actually watched the two last Ghostbuster movies that we haven't finished, that we haven't seen, basically.
So, Robert, tell me, who you gonna call?
Ghost, Robert, Gio, and Ray. And we have a hotline, so you know.
Was Frozen Empire any good? I haven't seen it yet.
I like Afterlife. Let me
I
not
liked Afterlife. I saw it. I liked it.
let me not say much. Number one, because this is not a show about that, so I don't want to spoil something on a show that we're not talking about. But Afterlife, there were tears.
Mm.
There were a lot of tears, and I'm really happy how they
You
did.
cry for everything, bro. So
Well, if
Yeah.
you're a fan of Ghostbusters and you watch Afterlife, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Robert cries for a McDonald's commercial.
I dance on them. Hey, nice chunky chunkies. Can I?
Yeah, so if you're a Ghostbuster fan, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about. I just don't want to mention it for you guys because
On the list.
we might do a show. We might do a show about it. I mean, have you guys? You guys are Ghostbusters fans, right?
Oh yeah.
I
So,
love the classic movie. I haven't watched a new one.
but
Soon.
you have
I have Ghostbusters VR. It's awesome.
okay. So
Oh,
when you watch Afterlife, let's get on Discord and let's talk about it and see if you agree with me. That
I've
there was
seen
nice.
Afterlife. I haven't seen Frozen Empire.
Oh, you seen Afterlife,
Yes.
so you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Awesome, awesome. Really enjoy, especially because of that Lost that we have. I think it was a great person that we lost, and I really like how they did it. So
Mm.
that's all I'm going to say about that. Uh, Gio, if you haven't seen it, if you're a fan of it, you might not have the same feelings I did,
I felt like peer
uh,
pressured.
but I think you are going to appreciate, what they did in this film because
All right.
it was nicely done.
Did,
Um,
did you hear that Netflix has greenlit a Ghostbusters show for Netflix?
that would be freaking awesome.
Netflix has me traumatized because Netflix stars these great ideas and they either discontinue and cancel in one season or they it all up very bad.
Mm, well,
So
yeah.
there's one thing called Netflix trauma. Now you know what it means. I got Netflix trauma.
Fair enough.
Uh, so yeah, Frozen Empire, I really enjoyed it. Um, I like the fresh introduction of how they now the characters are going to be the new thing, and yet being guided by the old characters. Notice how I'm trying to be careful in what I'm saying.
Yep.
But I really enjoy that, and I kind of would love to see that going forward, even extending to the TV shows. That would be freaking awesome. But hey, we'll just it's one of those things that you sit and wait. And of course, gaming wise, Halo Infinite. Uh,
Oh,
uh,
And of
and
course, World of Warcraft, but you can't mention that because it's not so.
well, Gio was trying to tell me that it might be sci-fi because there's a couple of things. We were multiple planet species. There's what you said. There was a time travel.
there's time travel.
Uh,
You got steampunk because you can even become an artificer. But like you got machines and stuff like that. We were doing a mission where we were in a giant freaking robot cutting trees. Come on.
yeah, I guess you can argue it is somewhat.
I
Uh,
mean, come on, bro. You wanted to say Harry Potter is sci-fi. This is
Sci-fi adjacent. That doesn't mean how close, but it is adjacent.
oh,
for that matter, World of Warcraft is way sci-fi.
Cha-
It's actually I don't know.
Chaos, what have you been watching? Stick to the point.
Log Horizon, and
oh, look,
I've been
right.
playing
Oh my god.
Halo Infinite, and nothing more sci-fi because I've just been watching a bunch of fucking anime, fantasy
What's
mostly.
what's Space Platano? You've got
Oh,
on your
Space Platano. It was a
yeah.
joke. I was not
Oh,
gonna
okay.
mention it, but Robert and I kind of differ on the idea of a Space Platano. He says that everything you put space in front of sounds good. I think that everything
Oh,
you put
right.
everything
I'm
you put
with you.
Platano on it sounds good too.
So,
Mm.
so in the Hispanic culture, and I'm referring a little bit more towards the Dominican culture, plátano is, the green plantains. It's kind of like the staple of cuisine. As a matter of fact, I grew up with instead of what people have mashed potatoes, it's kind of like mashed plátanos, which is amazing.
Magoo.
Mango. It tastes amazing. So I was having a conversation with Rio on Chaos here saying that, since you can make everything better just adding space to it, and Platano is already a really awesome thing. So this would be a uber fantastic by just having a space Platano.
I have a curious little fact for
You'll
you. Do
have to
you
get
know
them to grow it on the International Space Station. Then
That
you
would
can
be
make
awesome.
they grow like a plague, man. It's easier to grow anywhere. And just a little fact for you, Robert, that you might not know, but an American named our food. It was a tourist, and they gave him mango, and basically they didn't have a name for it. And when the guy told like, "Do you like it?" The guy said, "Man, good."
Oh my god, really? That was, dude. If you weren't
Really?
if you weren't joking,
You would have believed it.
that would make sense.
It's like song words heard wrong. It's in that same vein. Okay, so I have a recommendation for you. You keep complaining that there's not enough good sci-fi anime. I have a very good one for you.
No,
My
no,
son
no,
and I finished it. Astra Lost in Space. Holy mackerel!
Astro Lost in Space.
Yes, Astra Lost in Space, and it's like, think about like, you know, Machiavellian plots and epic twists and mysteries, and every single episode something else happens. Like, what?
All right, I just added it.
Yeah, you got to watch it. We've got to do an episode on it, but it's going to be really hard to pick which episode to cover because holy mackerel, just every episode is like, the what now?
So
my son and I are sitting there, and then he's like, "Oh my god, another cliffhanger!" And we're just sort of going at each other when the next reveal comes along. It was really good.
That is the problem with anime. Cliffhangers. You know, they leave you and then you have to wait a week.
that's the right way to do writing. You want to keep your people hooked.
You can binge it though because it's like from 2016,
Okay.
but it's one season and done, so it's finished in 12 episodes. So it's not a waiting around forever for the story never to be finished. It's completed, so well worth the watch. My wife has no emotion. Again,
That's true. I watched the episode and I didn't remember to mention it.
With the little and the jealous robot wifey. She was getting real jealous.
Oh god!
Oh wow,
that was funny.
I watched all of these on manga already. I read it, and to me, I mean, this is one of the few times that they're doing a good job representing what I read already, but they are not really adding a lot more history-wise to it. So, like, I'm waiting on my manga, bro. Like this one, I'm fully manga on invested.
Fair enough. And every now and again, YouTube throws up something really interesting. I mentioned either last episode or the one before about science fiction stories that were on YouTube. This one's a little bit different. It's from a channel called Astral Infernum, AI Arts, and it's alternate histories. So, you know, people coming up with alternate sci-fi histories. And this one's called Rise of the Automatons 1913, A Brief Overview. It's only like 7.5 minutes. And the video of it is all generated by AI. So it's interesting in that regard. I mean, it's not perfect. Some of the guns are like bananas. They're bent. So he's like, I don't quite understand how guns work. But it's all in black and white, and it's sort of like newsreely, sort of World War I-esque feel. But there's like giant mechas and robots and all sorts of things going on. And it's basically, it sounds very similar to the Animatrix.
Oh wow!
In that you know, in the late 1800s, they started developing automatons, and they, you know, put them into factories to build shit for people instead of having people having to do it. And a bunch of them rebelled, and there was this big battle across the US between the automatons and the humans, and the human army also had some automatons that hadn't broken their programming. So it was a little bit like Atlas in a way, and also like the Animatrix, but it was really interesting. And the person who's narrating it might have been an AI as well, but it had that sort of War of the Worlds sort of the tone of the voice was sort of deep and gravelly and
Radio
held a,
voice.
held a lot of gravitas. Yeah, and it was a sort of a radio voice, and it really worked well. I mean, if the AI generated images didn't have a few issues, which AI can't deal with, like turning wheels and stuff yet. But I mean, it's impressive. It's impressive for what it is. So I highly recommend you check it out. Everybody, spare 7.5 minutes of their life to see something cool and fun and new. It's on the channel Astral Infernum AI Arts, and it's Rise of the Automatons 1913.
Send it to me through Discord because I put Astro Inferno and I got a bunch of heavy metals and RPG writers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right.
Okay,
That's me.
nice. So I guess we can move on to the next. Our science fiction remnant.
This is the Funny Science Fiction Podcast.
We are the Caribbean Science Fiction Network.
We are Monorats.
We are One Accord Level 2 Podcast.
This is Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable and Open Pike Night.
This is Sci-fi.
And if you're new to the show, this is a segment where we feature the hashtag This is Sci-Fi. So what is this hashtag? This hashtag was designed to share sci-fi community across IPs. So if you are a creator of anything sci-fi, could be podcasts, could be movies, could be books, it could be an author, or if you're a fan, you have that one thing you like so much that you can't stop talking about it. Just on all your posts, all you got to do is add this is sci-fi. And basically what it is, it allows you to share a couple of things that could happen. You find people that have not experienced the IP or the thing that you like so much, and you could create interest on that individual to experience that new thing, especially if everybody that is following this is sci-fi is like we are. We're sci-fi fans, and you know your sci-fi ends and you have a hole in your heart, so you got to find something new and you can fill it that way, or you can find something that someone that has experienced that IP, that thing that you enjoy so much, and you can spark a conversation. um there there has been a lot of engagement so far, and lately I find engagement from the writing community, which I really appreciate. And like we have said before, these authors are great because they're actually creating worlds, and we really enjoy that because um that's what basically what that's what sci-fi is. It's really amazing to me to be able to find a complete different universe within the sci-fi genre that I can submerge myself into. So if you are a creator, make sure that whenever you do a post for that thing that you created, which is your baby, just add the hashtag this is sci-fi to the end, or your post. So not only everybody that is following, which you should, if you're a sci-fi fan, you want to follow that hashtag as well, so you don't miss all the posts. But also us, we can enjoy whatever sci-fi you create. And if you are a fan, sci-fi fan, it's great because we can engage in conversation. And there's many other ways that you can enjoy sci-fi conversation. Aside from the hashtag this is sci-fi, you can join our Discord and let's spark a conversation. We have a channel for everything sci-fi in there. Now, I would find it very hard to believe if we don't have the thing that you follow within our Discord channels. But if we don't, we'll definitely be happy to add it to our server. Um, and another way that you can share your sci-fi love is our hotline. We do have a hotline. You can call in 1 305 563 6334. That is 1 305 563 6334. A couple of things you could do, right? You can leave a message for the show. You can leave a message for any of the hosts. Hate mail for Captain Chaos. He's been waiting for those. You can leave a message about a previous show that we have done or a show that you would love us to cover. And what happens is on the next episode, we'll play your message and we'll have a conversation around it. So um, do call, and it's like having you on our show. And obviously, if you want to be on the show and you have that passion for that one thing, just reach out to us. If we haven't covered it, we'd love to have you on the show. So is there anything you guys like to add to this segment? I mean, I'm really enjoying the increase in engagement from the author community, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it's awesome.
Absolutely, actually. I have actually one of the shoutouts that I'm gonna give you are about yet another awesome creator. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so it's a good way to connect people and great minds, man.
Yeah, yeah,
And to pick on people online. Twitter is great for that. Picking fights on Twitter.
I can think of about 10 billion better things to do with your life.
What is Twitter better for than that?
for
It's
this
not, it's
sci-fi,
not like I can get canceled on Twitter.
You can.
Twitter is better
You
for.
can. You can get locked out of your account.
Yes, I seen it.
I know the ways. Don't worry.
I seen it. But yeah, if you want a reason to use Twitter, hashtag this is sci-fi. That's the way to do it.
Yep.
Anything you like to add, Ray? I don't know if you if you had any specific.
Nothing that leaps to mind. Although I would say that again, reiterating from the things that I've been watching, there's lots of cool stuff on YouTube to do with sci-fi from small channels and people who are creating things with AI and all that sort of stuff. So I know that we get fixated on the big IPs and the major books and Asimov and all the big names, but there's all sorts of little creators out there. I mean, I've been finding things like that guy who did the Alien thing, the 20-minute Alien story that he animated himself and took him 5 years. Stuff like that it's not big budget, it's not cutting edge, but it's raw and it's authentic.
Yes.
Authentic sci-fi created by people who love the idea and bring it to fruition. And it's the same with writers. Everybody starts out like myself. I'm a sci-fi writer, and I haven't got that far yet, but I'm still working on it. And they pour their heart and soul into it. So if you see something interesting, like have a look around YouTube. And see some of these things that people have made, and give them a like and a subscribe if you like what they're doing, and support them. All these little sci-fi creators, and you never know. One of them one day might be a big sci-fi creator, and you go, "Oh, I knew him when he was that tiny little channel with hardly anybody watching it."
Yeah,
Yeah, you
That's how
can
I
get in
feel
on the
about
ground floor.
certain. That's how I feel about certain specific writer.
I hope he's talking about me, but anyway.
the writer that should not be named.
Voldemort's writing sci-fi. Awesome.
That would be awesome.
I think it'd be a little bit narcissistic, actually.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so we can move on to the next segment.
And for these shoutouts, we have a short yet great list of folks that I want to mention. First, I want to mention a special thank you to Traffic Actually Production. He's actually a movie production based from Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. That's pretty cool. You see, we call the best of the best in people. And next, this is in Twitter, so you can actually go and find him, support his work. You can find him as his tag is at 412 ENT. Go and check him out for sure. The next one is a dear friend of ours. We collaborated with him in the past, and we like listening to him and watching his podcast. Actually, he's Cinema Recall, the Vern. And if you want to find him, and you should, go and check him out on Twitter X. You can find it by typing cinema_recall, and you're gonna have a lot of fun. His products when it comes to podcasts, his reviews, how his views. I love watching him, man. I love listening to him. He's a good entertainer for sure. Next on Discord, we have actually pretty cool folks in Terra Alpha, and the cool thing about it is that these guys make role play games, which is super cool because Robert got me into D&D, and now I'm a D&D junkie.
Hey, you know that Doc Joe and I make role playing games, don't you?
I know. I'm waiting for you guys to make it like in a video call or something so I can join.
Definitely. No, we have a game called Rapture: The End of Days, which is sci-fi horror. So yeah, we'll have to have a go at that. See what you guys think.
I'm down for it, man. The actual D&D that I do every Saturday now, we do it on Discord. So everybody is virtually connected, and we do it through D&D Beyond. And I'm working hand by hand with the DM. Actually, we're trying to look a way to get a better map interface to make it more dynamic, something 3D. So always a work in progress, but that's a beautiful thing about D&D, I think, is that there's so many ways that you can make it unique and tailored to the people within the group that are playing to it. That's the nice thing about it.
You have come a
And
long way since the rat game, right?
having what?
You have come a long way in D&D since the rat game.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You weren't feeling very benefactory that day for sure, neither. You wanted to make sure. It felt almost like you didn't want me to get into D&D. 5 freaking turns in the dark, not knowing where to go, what to do. 5 turns, and then I get to fight giant rats that gave me ibuprofen. Rats with ibuprofen. Probably they train turtles and they become ninjas.
And eat pizza.
Yeah, pizza time. But that is for today's shoutouts, actually.
Nice. Okay, so we can move on to the next segment.
The Alita Army
Creepy. It gets creepier and creepier, doesn't it?
Got better.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Let me share this. I don't often share the actual video thumbnails. I create most of these thumbnails. But this one here was this past week's Alita Army live streamed Radio Chaos episode 227. Show us your favorite Alita art 2024. It went for 3 hours. So, there was a lot of Alita art to see. So if you're at all interested in Alita Battle Angel fan art, there was a lot on that stream. So check it out.
The picture on the right gives me the vibes like, you everything gonna say?
I knew that was coming. I don't know why I knew that was coming.
If you want to know what's going on, you gotta go and watch our YouTube video. We're not gonna tell you.
Right. So it's the Alita Army channel on YouTube. I'll just zoom back out so you can see it. So there it is there. Yep. So we've had 227 episodes plus other shorts and things on this. There's a lot of content on that channel. Check it out if you're at all interested in the Alita IP. I highly recommend it. We've covered it extensively on Science Fiction Remnant. If you haven't checked that one out, you are missing out. So check out Gumu / Battle Angel Alita and Alita Battle Angel the movie, and enjoy, because it's awesome cyberpunk.
Yes,
and very sci-fi.
Awesome. Okay, so are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready?
I don't think we could possibly be ready. I mean, this IP is like it was the beginning of the Marvel verse, basically on the cinematic side. Um, I back in the 90s, I was reading X-Men and Avengers and things like that quite regularly. And yeah, every time you read a comic, you go, "Man, this would make a good movie." And they finally got around to doing it, and I mean, I think they kicked it off in spectacular fashion with this IP. I think it was the place to start. It was the character to start with. It was like a perfect storm, I thought.
Yes. Um, as a matter of fact, um, I I want to say I'm a Marvel guy. Um, I do enjoy some DC stuff. Um, but like if you know me by listening to the show long enough, you know that I typically don't go for dark stuff, and I think that annoys Captain Chaos because that is one of the reasons why I don't typically like Batman. Um, it, but yet Superman, Wonder Woman, stuff like that, right?
He
Uh,
likes he likes the '80s Batman that looks like he's wearing underwear on top of the clothes. That one he likes.
Wasn't it 60s?
I think it was the '60s, yeah. The one that says "pow, pow, pow."
Yeah, that one. That one.
Yeah, I love that Batman. But yeah, my Batman is Michael Keaton.
Have you got your shark repellent solution? Your bat shark repellent?
So I want to say I'm a Marvel guy. I have a lot more Marvel comics than I do DC. And if you're not watching YouTube, I don't know what's going on, but you should subscribe
I do. I do. I'm down.
because Geo is trying to replicate Batman climbing on the
The
walls.
rope to the helicopter where the shark was trying to bite him.
So yeah. um so this one I consider myself a Marvel fan. Prior to this, I remember seeing the Hulk movie that came prior to this, not the Incredible Hulk, the Hulk. Um, and I remember seeing the Hulk, the TV show. I believe it was in the '70s. So I've been a Marvel fan, and I remember this movie to be the film that converted my wife into a comic book Marvel fan. And this movie is responsible for my wife wanting me to forward through the credits to see if there are any after credits, sneaks.
And there is.
Well, there is. The problem is only Marvel. She does it everywhere. Star Trek, um, Doctor Who, Ghostbusters that we watched yesterday, which, by the way, Afterlife had, but the Frozen Empire doesn't. So yeah, it's everything now. So Marvel just kind of ruined my wife that way because, but she is a Marvel fan, and I was really I don't know if I was in shock because I wasn't expecting her to be a fan. But who is not? I mean, you said it clearly, Ray, that they knock it off the park, and
Yeah.
you don't have to be a Marvel fan to really enjoy this whole, let me call it series. Um, and I know here in Science Fiction Random, we technically haven't covered. I mean, we covered one for our Christmas special. Well, we
Yeah.
typically don't cover Marvel, so I'm kind of glad that we picked this film to kind of remedy that on this show and get our feet wet into the Marvel universe. So I wonder, before we get off the beaten path like we normally do, um, should we cover the plot?
Before the rails go off the cliff, you mean? Yeah, let's do a plot. It sounds like a plan. So, Tony Stark, who has inherited the defense contractor Stark Industries from his late father Howard Stark, is in war-torn Afghanistan with his friend and military liaison Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes to demonstrate the new Jericho missile. After the demonstration, his convoy is ambushed and Stark is critically wounded by a missile used by the attackers, one of his company's own. He is captured and imprisoned in a cave by a terrorist group called the Ten Rings. Yinsen, a fellow captive and doctor, implants an electromagnet in Stark's chest to keep the shrapnel shards that wounded him from reaching his heart and killing him. Ten Rings leader Raza offers Stark freedom in exchange for building him a Jericho missile for the group. And he,
sure.
But he and Jensen believe that Raza will not keep his word. Exactly what you said, sir. Stark and Jensen secretly build a small, powerful electric generator called an arc reactor to power Stark's electromagnet and a prototype suit of power armor to aid in their escape. Excuse me. Although they keep the suit hidden almost to completion, the Ten Rings discover their hostages' intentions and attack the workshop. Yinsen sacrifices himself to divert them while the suit powers up. The armored Stark battles his way out of the cave to find a dying Yinsen, then burns the Ten Rings' weapons and flies away, crashing in the desert and destroying the suit. What they didn't mention there, that Yinsen and Stark were supposed to escape together, but Yinsen basically threw his life away because his family's actually already been killed by these terrorists and he wanted to reunite with them. So he decided, well, I'll get this Tony Stark guy out and die doing it, and then I'll go and see my family. So that was kind of sad. I think that was
right there, Robert.
Robert and Tears moment.
Well, my wife was saying he doesn't die, right? He doesn't, right? Tell me he doesn't.
Wait till I tell her.
Well, he's seen it. You know, she found out today, but yeah. Well, not today, but she, when we watched it back,
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim.
Let's drink ginseng tea on his name.
Yeah, that'll help. Okay, where did I get to?
Did we derail you again?
Yes, pretty much.
Burning shit around.
The armored Stark battles his way out of the cave and finds a dying Yinsen, then burns the Ten Rings' weapons and flies away. The Ten Rings' weapons that are all Stark products. Stark's own company's been selling weapons to them. He crashes in the desert and destroys the suit. After being rescued by Rhodes, Stark returns home and announces that his company will cease manufacturing weapons. Obadiah Stane, his father's old partner and company manager, advises Stark that this may bankrupt Stark Industries and ruin his father's legacy. In his home workshop, Stark builds a sleeker, more powerful version of his improvised armor suit, as well as a more powerful arc reactor for it to be placed in his chest. Personal assistant Pepper Potts places the original reactor inside a small glass showcase that says, proof that Tony Stark has a heart, because he never really acted like he did have one previously. Though Stane requests details, a suspicious Stark decides to keep his work to himself. At a charity event held by Stark Industries, reporter Christine Everhart informs Stark that his company's weapons were recently delivered to the Ten Rings and are being used to attack Yinsen's home village, Gulmira. Stark dons his new armor and flies to Afghanistan, where he saves the villagers. While flying home, Stark is intercepted by F-22 Raptors. He reveals his secret identity to Rhodes over the phone in an attempt to end the attack. Meanwhile, the Ten Rings gather the pieces of Stark's prototype suit and meet with Stane, who has been trafficking arms to the Ten Rings and has staged a coup to replace Stark as Stark Industries CEO by hiring the Ten Rings to kill him. He subdues Raza and has him and the rest of the group killed. Stain has a massive new armor suit reverse engineered from the wreckage. Seeking to track his company's illegal shipments, Stark sends Potts to hack into its database. She discovers that Stain hired the Tenguins to kill Stark, but the group reneged when they realized they had a direct route to Stark's weapons. Potts meets with Agent Phil Coulson of S.H.I.E.L.D., an intelligence agency, to inform him of Stain's activities. Stain's scientists cannot duplicate Stark's miniaturized arc reactor, so Stain ambushes Stark at his home and steals the one from his chest, which basically would be killing him. Stark manages to replace it with the original reactor. Potts and several S.H.I.E.L.D. agents attempt to arrest Stain, but he dons his big ass suit and attacks them. Stark fights Stain, but is outmatched with the new reactor to run without the new reactor to run his suit at full capacity. The fight carries Stark and Stain to the top of Stark Industries building, where Stark instructs Potts to overload the large arc reactor powering the building. This unleashes a massive electrical surge that causes Stain and his armor to fall into the exploding reactor, killing him. The next day, at a press conference, Stark publicly admits to being the superhero the press has dubbed Iron Man. In a post-credit scene, S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury visits Stark at home, telling him that Iron Man is not the only superhero in the world and that he wants to discuss the Avenger Initiative. I would say cue credits, but they've already rolled. This is afterwards.
So this is after.
Yeah.
That is, I find that to be really cool. And I think that adds to the magic of Marvel and how they give you little hints of what's coming up before the next film is created.
Cliffhanger.
Exactly. Exactly. So I guess we can move on to the very first question that we ask in this show, in every one of our episodes. At the beginning of the show, we ask, how old were you when you watched this for the first time, and what was your very first impression? I guess we kind of all saw it in 2008. Is that a fair assessment? Okay. Okay. So,
Oh, yeah.
You
yeah,
bet.
yeah. I saw it in the theaters with my wife, and as I said earlier, um, this movie kind of made me happy because it made my wife a fan of Marvel. And I also mentioned earlier that now in every film that we watch, I mean, we could be in theaters and we will not leave past the end credits because she always feels that it's going to be something after. So, that's everything. At home, in the theaters, doesn't matter. Um, I think that's very clever. I think that that
I think it's evil.
well, it's part evil.
Agreed.
I think that if Gio was a director, he would make like a 2.5, 3 hour movie and then put an end credit scene right at the end of the credits. So people busting to go to the loo would have to sit there and wait till the end of the credits.
Very
I make sure that you drip those droplets of piss you've been holding.
Evil. Evil has a name, and it is the post-credit scene after a 3 hour movie.
Totally.
So, just to complete my thought here, this film it was so amazing. It touches all of the boxes for me, at least. It touches the obviously Marvel superheroes box, and it touches the science fiction sci-fi box for me. It's not your deep sci-fi that you are accustomed to. Um, but I remember when I watched this for the first time that it was kind of believable, right? They didn't go. Yeah, granted, it's still far fetched, but they didn't go like 3-4 thousand years into the future. They made it something that it is feasible that someone could have, like a millionaire could have enough money, and maybe he's smart enough that he can just put things together and build something. Um, it made it. I guess the word that I'm looking for, it made it feel real, and I really enjoy that. We have talked about some films in the show before that make the science fiction not too far fetched and more real life into, and when I say real life, I'm talking about like our time today. I'm sure people that watch this maybe 20 years into the future might think differently, just as we have thought about other films that we have watched. One example could be the one that we covered previously, which is Forbidden Planet. Um, but it's like we talked in that film as well. Films are a product of their time. So this one felt like today. It felt like now. It felt like a world where I could have lived in, and where things are normal. And that was very pleasing for me. And I think I'm not sure if the the comic books, although they were kind of like that, they felt, at least to me, and I like to hear from you guys as well. To me, they felt like a superhero comic, something far fetched, something away from reality, and that was fun. And I think I like what Marvel did with these films because they grabbed that, they gave you that, but in a contemporary real life scenario. And I think for me that is a win-win. It is um amazing and clever, and I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy this a lot more. There wasn't really, I mean, we have other within the Marvel universe that are far-fetched, right? But this is an example of one that it's and I can't find a word. It's more um level
Believable.
level playing field, if I want to put it.
Yeah.
So that actually is my first impression, and it made me look forward to the next films. So who wants to go next? And I'm kind of wondering to hear your thoughts on that too.
I'll go next. This movie, I think it was the beginning of a lot of great movies. Just to do a segue to what you were saying, Robert, it even becomes the the proxy to make more believable all the things that connect to it, like Hulk, Captain America, because it doesn't feel like it's in another universe. It feels like it's all it's all science, the robot. Who knows if we get this armor soon enough so I can go around racing. uh, but before, I mean, just to put it on perspective, before this, what had me crazy on sci-fi spectrum, we're talking about X-Men movies. That was the best next thing. So it was great because this created another whole menu of things that we all love, but we didn't have.
Yeah.
And I mean, just look at it. We all went to see it at the movies. When does that happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, it's one of those movies you don't have to be a sci-fi lover, which is great to really like it, anyways, or enjoy it. That's the fun part about it too. And Tony Stark character, it's what isn't there to like about it,
Yes. I agree with
But
that.
yeah, no, this movie, I can't even go as far to say I never like comic books is not something to really come by. So the way that I've been more exposed to it is online, and I actually got to find out about the Mandarins uh, saga after I watched Iron Man 1. That's how I learned about more, and it got me into the comics of Iron Man, because I never like had read any other comics, even though I knew it existed. So for me, it was the IP, the movie that made me fan of the IP was the movie. Go figure.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess that concludes your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
My turn.
Your turn.
Your turn.
Well, as I said, I used to read Marvel comics back in the 90s, and I think I've still got a few boxes of them buried under the house somewhere. But I had read a few Iron Man comics in my time, and I found him. It's kind of weird. It might be the way the face was drawn, but I always found him to be a bit severe, a bit, uncompromising, and sort of like, a grumpy father who was very rough on the kids, like, very strict. And that's how I sort of felt the character of Iron Man was from the comics. But then this movie came along, and Robert Downey Jr. put, snark into Stark, and gave the character so much more depth than I ever thought it had in the comics. And it just amazed me. Like Jon Favreau, I've been a fan of him ever since this movie. And he reinvigorated Star Wars for Disney after those horrific sequel trilogy.
Talk about undercover boss, huh?
Yeah.
He is happy.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the pacing of this was perfect. The music was spot on. The special effects were just awesome. The script really flowed. The acting was excellent. And yet it didn't seem to overreach. Like the story didn't get ridiculous. It didn't get cartoony and stupid hero, as I call them, when the superheroes do stupid things, because you always got to one up everything every time you release a new volume. Something extra new, bigger has got to happen until they do a reset, and then they start it all again. But this movie was very grounded. It felt really grounded, and the story arc of Tony Stark in this movie, he really changed. He was a narcissistic rich prick who used people and threw them away, and he was enabled by Pepper. Some of the things she said to that girl that he picked up at that party. Oh boy, one of my jobs is to take out the trash. The door is that way. Things like that. It's like, oh, okay, you're seriously enabling here, but I mean, he's paying you, so. But yeah, I mean, the story really hung together. The characters were spot on. Tony Stark went through a massive realization and a character shift after being nearly dying to one of his own weapons, and then being forced to make weapons for terrorists, and finding his inner metal, because he was a stupid rich playboy before that. And then he found his inner metal, and he became Iron Man inside and out, in that he decided this is not how it's going to be anymore. I'm changing things. And he used his epic intelligence to come up with the Iron Man suit. And basically, he said, in our quote, he said, oh, I've got all these character flaws and this and that and the other, but that's offset by his determination that his father's legacy wouldn't be a legacy of death. He was going to change that. And it was beautiful to see that he went from a warmongering, rich playboy, narcissistic asshole to somebody who was determined to help others and change his trajectory in life. And yeah, I really thought it was a story of redemption of Tony Stark. I mean, he's still not perfect, but he's on his way to becoming a better man.
Mhm.
And it continues on all the way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe up until his death. He dies to save half of the universe, half of the people in the universe. Yes, I'm spoiling here, but if you haven't watched the Marvel movies by now, why not?
Even I watch him by now.
But this is where it started. This was the start of his redemption arc, and the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe basically, to me, feels like Tony Stark's redemption arc. There's a lot of other stuff that happened, but he started it and he finished it.
Yeah.
And to me, Tony Stark's rise and fall and rise again and his redemption arc is the Marvel Cinematic Universe to me. And that's why this movie holds a special place in my heart and is the kickoff for the whole massive story, which I stopped following after Tony Stark died for some strange reason. I don't think I've seen a Marvel movie since. So there you go.
I was going to mention this because I found it interesting and weirdly complicated. And it's basically based on what you just said, right?
Yeah.
The Starks Industries.
Mm.
By the time we watch this film, is known as a weapons industry, and they have made millions of a war. We all know, unfortunately, that this industry is the more lucrative one out there. You can make millions if you are in that industry. Unfortunately, because it's war. So why I said it's a little complicated is if we look at um, Tony Stark's dad, when he remembers his legacy, and again, I might be spoiling somewhat future films, but it resembles slightly what a technology company would look like if you visualize it as Disney's empire. So if you watch, for example, some of the old films from Tony Stark's dad, where he's talking about his company, it eerily resembles the old films you would watch where Walt Disney was actually talking about this company. Not sure if that was intentionally or not. However, that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. It is obvious that his dad had a vision for this company. And we can see this from previous films when they go back in time and we get to see Howard. What he worked on Captain America, right? That's one example. So something happened in Stark's Industries that it shifted that vision to one of war. And I think it is very easy when you are looking at profit margins and solely about how much money you can make and how fast you can make it to kind of go away from what the original vision is of that company. And that's why a vision is so important within an organization and keep it at the forefront so you don't stray away from it and keep the original vision of the company. I feel that something shifted. Maybe it was Stain, maybe, but it is very hard because at the point where Starks started to have to switch over, after he came back from the horrible incident that happened to him that almost cost him his life, the company was at a place where it was making money from war. And he decided that the company is not going to do that anymore. I find that complicated, and I was wondering what you guys thought because that means they would have to reinvent the company. It's obvious that the company was geared towards that. I mean, we know this after finishing this film that that was in fact what happened. Um, but if the company would have stayed with the vision from Howard Stark, it would have been a lot easier to kind of keep making money because the vision would have been a complete different shift to what vision of the company had at the time. Um, so it would be a very very hard decision, and you could see the panic in everybody's faces when he announced this in the public. I mean, just the stock market itself.
Not only that, but if you look at the historical data of companies going through this transformation, it usually doesn't work. It usually, like, I will venture to say with confidence that 80% of the time, which statistically is a horrible number when it's against your odds, the company flops and goes away.
Uh, I think slightly different, and I can't wait to hear Ray's thought on that. And the reason why I'm going to say this slightly different is because the world changes, society changes, and a company that doesn't change with it is doomed from the beginning.
Yes, but
So,
I you cannot forget too that Stark's industry in this example has a very bad reputation. So their public right now, it's not the common public, you know, like not everybody goes and buy a missile, you know. So his line of customers, it's not really any other person out there. And changing into the common public, you might not have the best welcoming waiting for you. You feel me?
well, I see where you're coming, but I'm seeing it from a different perspective. Um, that industry it has complete different clientele. So if you want to make money in that industry, you have to sell to make money.
Yeah.
And the people that are going to buy, the people that have money. So you technically could say you're not going to sell to this person, but if you look at bottom line, whoever has the money is the one that has the the possibility of buying your product. So you're in a really weird position to sell to
Yep.
people that you might not agree with.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this company shifted somehow based on what I see from other films. It shifted to this type of company, but I don't feel it was the vision from Howard. And I think if it stayed in the vision from Howard, they could have actually turn off that division and not suffer losses because that's not, it's kind of like putting all your eggs in one basket, if you think about it. Look at, for example, companies like, uh, let me name Disney, for example. Just as maybe a poor example, but they have the theme park area. They have the movie and entertainment area. So they have different, um, eggs. They have their eggs in different baskets, if you want to say it that way. And the way that I see Stark's Industries is they're only doing one thing, and they, that I don't think that's how. Number one, that's not how you survive. Number two, going back to the original thought that I was talking about is companies need to evolve and change. Because then we have examples like I remember how big Yahoo was. Now, can you tell me the last time you used Yahoo as a search engine?
Um,
Yeah.
some months ago, I had it somehow coming up in my search browser, which pissed me off.
2005.
It
I mean,
does exist
I,
still.
I'm not saying there's anything bad with it. I'm just saying
I just don't use it.
that AOL is another example. Um, MySpace is another example.
MySpace. Oh my god.
So
You remember? You remember the photo of the guy like this? in my
Yeah.
face with a white shirt.
Everybody was a friend of Tom. And the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because if you don't change, you're doomed as a company, and you have to always keep reinventing yourself. Ray, I'm sorry. We're going in this long thing, and I really want to hear your thoughts. Yep, pretty much.
So it's my turn.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you'd finished or not.
What do you mean your turn? This is a brawl. You just jump in and start throwing punches.
Well, when I've got a strong opinion, you get my strong opinion. I don't hold back. But yeah, I mean, everything changes. People change. The business landscape changes. And yeah, I mean, in this movie, obviously Obadiah Stane has been very influential. He's been running the company while Tony Stark was coming of age, and he was still doing things in the background without Tony knowing. And Tony was just like the face man of the company, who wasn't making any decisions. He wasn't even going to the board of directors meetings. So Obadiah was doing all that to keep control and letting Tony think he was in charge, but he was just a figurehead. And when Tony came back from what was supposed to be his death incident, and then tried to turn the ship around and sail it in a completely different direction, Obadiah locked him out. So, I mean, yeah, Obadiah had his idea of what should be happening, and if it didn't jibe with Tony Stark was out. In fact, he tried to kill the goose who lays the golden eggs, as it were, because he wanted control of the company. So, I mean, it's not a case that the company was changing in response to the economic and business environment. War is business, and business is always good because there's always wars. And I thought
like funeral homes. I think I'm gonna open one.
Yeah, but that could be a dead end job. You want to be careful.
Yeah,
me and my bad jokes. Anyway,
we went 16 under with that pun.
I did. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to drift too far from the point, but yeah, the situation wasn't driven by the situation wasn't driven by the environment. It was driven by the desires of the people in charge. One was going one way, and the other was going the other way, and that's what basically caused the rift and the conflict in this movie. And I mean, it's completely understandable, completely sensible. It was down to earth. There wasn't any major plot holes in this movie. There wasn't anything that said to you, oh God, why the hell did they do that? Everything made sense. It was grounded, and I really appreciated that, because a lot of superhero movies before this were A, not particularly scientific, and B, just hand-waved a bit because superheroes are like that. And you have to just take a whole bunch of stuff on spec and just sort of ignore the elephant in the room and just watch the movie and try and enjoy it.
For the sake of the plot.
Exactly. And for the sake of the powers of the superhero. And I think from a perspective of creation story of a superhero, this one was pretty much spot on. And the fact that he's not irradiated, he's not bitten by a spider, he's not coming from another planet, he's not this, that, and the other. He's just a smart, rich dude who went through a shitty time, had PTSD, and went, fuck it, I'm going to build an armor suit. and the fact that they didn't just do a montage and suddenly he had an armor suit, They went through the development of it. Stuff was happening while he was working on it. They showed that it took time and effort and focus, and people were getting worried about him, and shit was going on in the background. Obadiah was wrestling the company away from him and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, sorry, I'm busy making my flying armored suit that's going to kick your ass. So, I mean, yeah, and even down to the point of why was it those weird, shitty colors? It's like, oh yeah, it's like a gold titanium alloy, which is being used on like special satellites that were going up towards the sun or something or other, to solve the icing problem. And it all made sense, and none of it was overt and in your face that sort of broke the immersion. It just all worked. I love movies that just work. And this movie got awards for script writing and acting and all those sorts of things. It wasn't like the best movie of the year, but it was a really, really solid production and a solid outing, and it stands the test of time. I watched it again last night and went, wow, this still feels good. This still feels sciencey and awesome and satisfying. And it's like 16 years later, and it's still a good movie.
He's aging well.
Really is.
Yeah. And you said something interesting. I really like also how it's grounded, and how it's so believable. Because I mean, there's one scene that I can point out as an example, within many other scenes, which is the scene where Iron Man is with Stain in his suit, and they're like climbing up into the air, and he mentions, how did you solve the icing problem? That made it so believable because the way that they worked the film, just like you said, you can see him working on it. You could see the many tries. You could see the fails, the fail attempts, and what happens. Which, by the way, they were comedic. They were so funny, especially the beginning when he's testing his shoot, and he's just smacking to the wall.
Oh yeah, I felt that one.
That was cartoony because when he hit that wall, you would have really get badly hurt.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
But that was the only cartoony moment of it, probably.
But the point that I'm trying to make is like you see the progress. It's not your typical, like you mentioned, right? It's not your typical superhero where you have a montage and all of a sudden he's ready, right? You could see a big part of the movie is him developing this thing. And when it comes to that part, it makes it so believable because this guy literally created in a very short time backwards engineering the suit, right? So Tony had a lot more time and a lot more experiments under his belt that we got to see, including when he went all the way in and climbed up, and we see him froze up, lose power, and plummet. And that was, I think, very, very clever to give the audience that, so this is something that it was hard to work on, and we're seeing his failures.
You know what would have been more fun? If when he's falling, instead of booting up, he get the blue screen of death from Windows.
Yeah.
Jarvis does not run on Windows. He's got a much
Exactly.
better
Just to point that out. So I think that part was very clever. And I'm just mentioning that, right? Because there's so many other parts. But that scene, they gave us that. So we could see that his success came from his failures. and he did learn from each one of those failures. And when he pointed that to uh, the other suit, that how you call it, to Stain,
Yeah.
that is so believable because he was back when engineering this thing um, that he did not understand. He had to backwards engineer to understand, and I don't think he had the time to experiment or to test and learn from the mistakes as Tony did. And that
Not
to me made it very believable.
not only that, but he was absolutely not involved into the development process of it.
Exactly.
So when he comes up with a big bulky piece of crap, it has no mobility. So it looks like a way more. You can tell, even though it's a finished product, it's so much inferior to the armor suit Mach 1. What he
Mm.
created, it looks like you're trying to compare a super sports car with a big
A Mack
double
truck.
a Mack truck. Like, yeah, it has more power, but you don't have a way to use it.
Well, just as an example from the movie itself, there's a scene where Tony's flying along in Afghanistan and he gets hit by a shell from a tank. And he climbs out of the pit that he's crashed into, and he's got this stain on his helmet
Yeah,
where the shell had
that's it.
exploded on his face, and he survived it. And then he's standing there, and the tank's behind him. He hears the gunfire, and he dodges the shell. He like steps aside. That his suit could move that fast,
Yes,
but the other one would have just worn it.
Yes.
not at all.
Yeah.
But it was so beautiful that he just went fired off a missile, little missile, and then
A
he's just
firecracker.
He's just walking away. It's just,
Yep.
And the music.
walking
But
behind it. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was well done.
It
But
it was believable because
Yeah.
that's the beauty of it. He is
Yeah.
a weapons dealer.
Yeah.
So it is very believable for him to be able to create a tiny missile.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing that this happens in a lot of movies, they'll throw out the MacGuffin that will allow the good guy to win in the end to show that it's there. That's the icing up and solving the icing problem. But then that happens at the end, and you go, "Oh, this is how he's going to beat him." But he doesn't. He manages to get out of it like Tony did, and he's back again.
Mhm.
And it just shows that Tony's human. He tries things and they don't work, and then he's got to come up with something else. But he's incredibly intelligent, and he just keeps working on it until he gets there. Tony Stark isn't a superhero. He's a hero. He doesn't have some sort of magical special power like Thor or Hulk or
Mhm.
any of those guys, or Superman. He's like Batman.
Yes.
Batman and Tony Stark have very similar trajectories in their story, in that they're simply a man who got pissed off and decided to do something about it, had the intelligence and the money to do it.
Yes.
And I like Batman, and I like Tony Stark. So I got something. I must have a thing for the underdog, the hero, not the superhero.
Mm-hmm.
But who is your
And
favorite?
that's probably. Sorry, who's my favorite Batman? Oh,
But who is your favorite
Christ.
Batman? I died on the hill.
Oh.
That's it.
Died on the hill of who?
Michael Keaton. That's it.
Yeah, I think Michael Keaton was my favorite until the most not the very recent one. Oh God, what's his name?
Oh my god. Continue again, Chaos, for our YouTube viewers.
What did he do? Oh, he's climbing the ropes. Oh dear. Who was the Batman that was in Batman versus Superman?
Gio.
Yeah. It was Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Yeah, I thought Ben Affleck felt a lot like Tony Stark, the way he did Batman.
Yes,
It had
yes.
that same sort of snarky intellectual feel, and I really like that. So, I mean, Keaton was my favorite until Affleck came along. I think
I
Affleck.
like Ben Affleck. He was a good Batman. I do agree with you. I think that the the main difference is like I really like Chris Bale, for example. But with Chris Bale, you got more of like the sentimental dark side of his life, so you can see a duality.
Yeah.
You know, where Tony Stark is just this egotistic, eccentric person at all times, even in the moments of seriousness. You know.
I mean, there's a scene in one of the movies that Ben Affleck is Batman in, where he picks up
Batmaning. I like that verb. Batmaning.
he picks up the Flash, the young guy as the Flash, and they're sitting in the car. And says, "So what's your superpower?" He says, "I'm rich," and that's Tony Stark.
Bruce
as well.
Wayne always flounders that card. I don't know if you notice all across many different IPs versions of Batman, but that's what he does. Whenever he gets a problem, he just buys the freaking place.
Nice.
His superpower is money, and the proper execution of the concept of money.
and having Morgan Freeman to work for him too.
Now we know what we want to see when they come up with a movie Marvel versus DC.
What you want to see Downey Jr.'s Iron Man versus Batman.
Yes.
That would be a knockdown drag out fight. Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: like I don't know. Comparison is a killer of joy. Like I wouldn't compare it. They are rich magnates, and they have the hero aspect, but they're different. I mean, I don't think that even Batman's suit compares to Iron Man's suit. Iron Man is a freaking war machine. You know, Batman is a ninja.
I still want to see it. I mean, I don't know who might win, but I still want to see it.
Hulkbuster versus anti-Superman Batman armor.
Wow.
That could be interesting. That could be a good throwdown.
With Kryptonite Knuckles.
Kryptonite Knuckles aren't going to work. Not on Hulkbuster.
I don't know, for anti-Superman at that.
So yeah, there's our laundry list right there.
make it happen, Marvel DC. We just have to wait for Disney to buy DC, and then it'll happen.
Oh God. I wouldn't be surprised.
Don't throw that out there, Ray.
Sorry to say.
I know. I'm probably going to get hate mail. I'll get hate mail before
don't throw that out there, Ray.
does.
Well, you know our hotline, so you know.
Bring it. I can feel. I turned 55 recently.
There's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Apparently. I haven't experienced it myself, but apparently.
So I think I alluded to this in our recent conversation, that this is one of those few movies that have at least one moral message that I can take. And I even noticed this from the very beginning. It was very unique to me. And the moral message is that we don't learn from our successes. We learn from our failures. This is true in science. When you do an experiment and it fails, that's a learning opportunity. You take notes and you continue. And again, I'm just throwing science in there, but this is basically everything.
Just before you go on, can I drop an anecdote?
Yeah.
When you're a young scientist, like I was once a long time ago, you think that you should be able to do some experiments, get some results, and go, "Ha ha! Look what I discovered." It doesn't work. I've worked on projects that ran for 5 years, and you take incremental steps, things get a little bit better, and that's the whole project. You don't make, there's no massive eureka moments. There's no, hey, look at this, we've solved world hunger, or we've done this, or we've done that. No, it's day in, day out grind doing the same thing, and it wears you down, and you get very despondent. And my supervisor saw that I was looking particularly down this one time, and he took me into his office. He said, "Look, even a negative result is still a result. It still tells us what doesn't work, because we need to know what doesn't work before we can zero in on what does. This is the process. This is science. Science isn't snapping your fingers and going, whoo, this is the answer. No, science is, look at all these non-answers. Look at all these things that don't work. We're getting closer to the thing that does because we've ruled all this stuff out."
Yeah.
And that doesn't get, none of that stuff gets published. All that work, all that ruling stuff out doesn't get published. The thing that gets published is the thing that works. So when you're reading about science and papers and things like that, you get this biased view that every time a scientist sits down and does an experiment, they find out something fantastic. That's not how it works. 99.9% of science is failures and boring and shit and nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to respect scientists, because they've done all that legwork, done all that effort. And I'm not saying it's just scientists. I mean, you go and see like an amazing dancer, and you go, oh, they're just so talented. And oh God, I wish I could do that. But, they have practiced for hundreds, maybe thousands of hours to get that good. There's a saying that you have to spend 10,000 hours on something to become an expert. And anybody who has risen to near the top of their field, or to the top of their field, and congratulations if you have, then they know how long it takes, how much effort you have to put in. And there's an old saying, it's not about what you had to do to succeed, it's what you had to give up to succeed. People give up family time, they give up other dreams, they have to give up all sorts of things to focus enough to get to the top of their field, or to manage those 10,000 hours. And they maybe have to give up the financial security so that they can achieve this one thing that is their dream, or a goal that they've set. And, it's one of those things you've got to weigh up your life and say, is this worth it? A lot of people living in obscurity and never try to do anything like that because they decided it isn't worth it. But there are those driven people, and thank God there is, because they're the ones that drag us all forward, and sort of light the way for humanity to become better. Because if nobody made that effort, we'd all be just mundane schmucks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a place in the world for people who are just, trudging along and doing what they have to do and looking after their family and not reaching out like that. But then we do need those people in society who will go that extra mile and spend all that time and become the top of their field. And, getting, rolling back around to science, there's those in science that have given up family and all those sorts of things to focus on their work and push humanity forward, even if it's incremental, drop by drop steps, doing 100,000 experiments that didn't work to get that one that does. And that solves a massive problem in medicine or science or materials or whatever it happens to be, to push us forward. And a lot of that is unsung.
And I'm so grateful that you mentioned that, because it seems like it's a common human trait. And for all I know, I mean, the reason why I mention it in this film is I can bet you anything that most people did not see that in the film. Because it's a fun film, but I had to point it out because it is a message that I think that we all need to hear. It is human nature to look at someone, like if you look at a successful business owner or a successful um, um, anybody that is successful in their field, and and
Oh,
and
how lucky he is.
and then put him on the pedestal and imagine, they're excellent, they're perfect, they're there for a reason, but not realize, and even if you're a business owner, you don't realize how much money and how much time you spent before you get there. Or if you're like a successful, um anyone successful, let's say for example in sports, they
Anywhere, any field.
they don't see how many times you hit the dirt.
That has a name, actually, in psychology. It's called the iceberg effect.
Mhm.
And what the iceberg effect means is that everybody sees the tip of the iceberg outside of the water. But as we all know, the portion that is underneath, out of sight, is way bigger.
Yeah,
And the part outside represents the success of a person. The things that are not visible represents the struggles and the work and effort put into it. That's why when somebody mentions, like, alluding to what Ray said, for example, about talent, I don't like the conception people have about talent. It's so bad. People think that talent, you are just naturally good at something, and the dictionary definition of talent is a pursued interest. That means that the person goes after it. So it doesn't matter how good you are at something. If you don't feed it and you don't practice it and do it constantly, you're never gonna be good at it, even if you have talent for it. You know?
yeah, like fishing in World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not a pursuit interest.
obviously. There's an old saying, not every hard worker is a winner, but every winner is a hard worker.
Yes, yes.
That's
So
true.
so to bring this back to the film that we're discussing,
There
uh,
was a film?
there is
We're talking about icebergs and fishing on World War Cup.
fishing. Um, there's not many movies out there that actually will show you how they show the failures, Tony Stark's failures, like this film. And I'm trying to think. I mean, there are movies out there, but this is one of the things that I appreciate, that it actually puts it in people's faces and see, okay, he is there because of all these things. Um, and and this brings it back to the beginning on what I was expressing my very first thoughts on the film and how and why. I tell you how, but this is why I feel, in the most part, that this story, this film, was very grounded. It just brought it home. I don't think there's any film out there, unless you guys can think of something, of anything, right off the top of your head right now, that shows the continuous failures to get to the success.
Where are you leaving Darth Vader?
He's just whiny Anakin.
That was continuous failure.
All the way to the end, right?
Yep.
Sandy Bottoms. I hate sand. I hate it. Leave Anakin Skywalker alone. Oh, dear.
So
I mean, if you going back to the comparison with Batman, I mean, they don't show Batman working on all his cool tech stuff.
exactly.
With Batman, it's he rocks up, fights the bad guy gets it over him, and then he reaches down to his belt and he has the thing he needs to solve the problem.
But I
And
think that's allures to his involvement on the development of those technologies. He's not alienated to them, so he's well versed on what he's rocking, right?
that's true, but you don't see him building them and testing them and having to fix them and make them better and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's the development cycle in this movie that makes it feel really grounded, I think. And I think Robert's
Yes, yes.
right, where it's not a snap your fingers and you've got everything you need to win the day. I've been working on this since I had to build a hunk of junk to get me out of the lair of the terrorists, and it was an interesting idea. And now I'm going to move forward with it and keep working on it. And you know, he has a ton of failures. The icing problem when he lands back at home and crashes through the piano and one of his sports cars.
Oh my god. Hilarious.
And it's like, yep, it's heavier than you thought.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to reinforce freaking everything. So and that's the thing. My very first supervisor was my honor supervisor. His name is Ray Ackhurst. So, you know, I'm Ray and he's Ray. So it was always confusing when somebody said, "Hey, Ray," and we both turn around at the same time. What? Which was usually for him. But I, as a young scientist, always wanted to know what would happen before I did it. Like, because you want some sort of surety, some sort of idea of what's going to happen to make you feel a little more secure in what you're doing. And I'd often say to my supervisor, "So what's going to happen when I do this?" And he says, "How the hell should I know? Suck it and see." And that became one of my personal idioms when, you know, anybody's like, "Oh, what's going to happen here? Oh, we've got to have some sort of surety about what's going to go on." I said, life doesn't give you surety. Suck it and see. You've got to try things to find out if they're right for you. You've got to make an attempt. If you're on the cutting edge, you're going to get cut.
Yeah.
It's basically what's going to happen. You're going to have failures.
Suck it and see.
Yeah, you just suck it and see. Works in all sorts of places, that saying.
You know I had to, Robert, right?
Yeah,
you have
he had to. I threw it out there and he caught it. So, yeah, I mean, life gives you no sureties. Like, insurance is fraud. But yeah, you will have to try things. You will have to
Trial and error.
trial and error. You have to put yourself out there. And a lot of superheroes show up fully formed, looking fantastic, have very few problems. Oh, there's a bad guy. I've got what I need to beat him. I've beaten him. They're superheroes. They have that super in their name and in their powers, and they have things that no normal human could ever have because it's make-believe, basically. But Tony Stark, he has his intelligence and his money. Two things that normal people can have, usually not together. But you know, there's a lot of dumb rich people out there, well, nasty rich people anyway. But you can have someone with both of those character traits. It won't necessarily happen very often, but you could have that, and it makes this movie believable. Like I said, he's not a superhero; he's a hero. Yep. And that means he's much closer to us than Hulk or Superman or any of those others. And that's what makes it more relatable. He's the everyday hero. He's not a superhero. And that's why I think this movie resonates and makes it a perfect choice for the start and the end of that massive story arc for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes. And I think that low-key you probably are Ant-Man because you got bitten by an ant not too long ago, right?
Oh, yeah. I get bitten by ants regularly, little bastards.
And yet you don't have any mutations. What a disappointment, right?
They're not. They're deleterious mutations. They're not helpful ones. I'm going to probably grow feelers very shortly.
I would love to see that. Oh, nice. Is there anything within this whole film? I guess since you've seen it, and I don't know how many times we've seen this film. I actually honestly don't know. I know I've seen it multiple times.
Thousands of times, for
I
sure I have.
I know that it has been a lot of times, but it's one of those films that it's always there, if you know what I mean. But you're not quite sure like how many times you've seen it. Um, is there any, and I can go around, we can take turns here. From this film only, obviously. What would you consider to be an impactful scene to you on this film, or maybe your favorite scene in this film? And not sure who wants to go first. I could go first, but I just don't want to taint. It is very possible we'll pick the very first, the very same scene, but like we have done in previous episodes. Um, I if I if I go first, I believe that I alluded already to my very first um parts, if I want to call it, or series of parts.
Okay.
Um, the my favorite, and I feel a little repeated when I say this, is my favorite part is how we see, we get to see, which is not very common, the failures, and we see from the very beginning of the film when he's creating, well, I like to call it trashy iron suits, which is very rough. You get to see gears outside. Um, very, very. If I say homemade, doesn't even give it justice because the next suit was built in his home too.
Yeah, don't try this at home, kids.
So I think what I enjoyed the most about this film is how we see failure after failure until we actually see a success. Um, and this is something that I wish most people would notice about this film. And if you haven't, I would really, really wish for you to rewatch this film and take consideration on those scenes and see that perspective. Um, that is something that I think most people should um, take to heart in their lives with everything they do. And it's just not get discouraged because you failed in life for X or Y reason, but to actually gain confidence in the fact that that failure that you had is actually a learning opportunity that could make you a better person. And I know this is a little deep, but that is one of the greatest things that I feel are my favorite scenes of the film because it's something that is not shown in entertainment that frequently, and I think it should be done more often.
Well, a lot of people are risk adverse. So, like, they don't want to take a chance on anything because a lot of people, as they're growing up, be it from schooling or home life, are told that failing is bad. If you try and do something and do bad at it, then you're put down. You're called a loser or a failure, and trying something and putting effort into it is far overshadowed by the negative repercussions of failure. So a lot of kids learn not to try. They won't try anything. They lose their ability to take risks, logical, sensible risks. I'm not talking about stupid risks. I'm talking about, like trying to be the best in a sport or working hard to start their own business or whatever. They won't do it because it's the fear of failure is huge because it's been blown out of proportion by society.
Yeah.
And movies like this, where you see somebody who's highly intelligent and very rich failing over and over and over again until he finally succeeds is part of the grounding of this movie, in that it is real life. That's what happens in real life. It's not about doing something once and doing it well and being a success. That's not life. That's bullshit. Or incredibly lucky and it will never happen again. The planets aligned and you managed to get it right on your fourth try and you never have to do it again. No, that's not what life is about. Life is about repetition. And if you've got to do it more than once and you got lucky on your first try, it's very likely you won't get lucky on your second try. Both myself and other people that I've known would not persevere on anything that they weren't talented at from the beginning because of the fear of failure, of being risk averse. And I think it holds a lot of people back. A lot of people who could have made something of themselves make nothing of themselves because of that fear of failure and that risk aversion. And it's something that more media should show, that anybody who succeeds had to work at it really, really hard, even if they were smart and had lots of money. Nothing works out the first time. You've got to work at it. You've got to persevere to get anywhere. And I think it's something that we're not teaching kids these days. They want everything just to be easy and work out the first time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it has to do with gaming as well. In gaming, everything is gamified. So, if I go and I hunt this many of these animals and I know that I've got the stats to kill them, so I go and kill them and then I hand in the quest and I get the thing. And it just works because I read the walkthrough and I know what to do. So I'm not taking any risks and I'll succeed. But then they get out in real life and there's no manual, there's no walkthrough, there's no guarantee.
Try again. Sometimes there's not a try again opportunity.
Yeah, there's no save and reload. There's no quest given that says if you do this many of that thing, you'll get this and you'll progress and you'll level up and everything will happen the way it's logical and you think it should happen. Life's not like that. Shit blindsides you. People that you trust turn on you. All that sort of shit happens. You've got to be resilient, and they haven't built resilience because they haven't tried and failed.
Mm-hmm.
And so people fall apart as soon as something doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because it reminds me of a very good quote. I don't remember the author, but it's that winners are losers that never gave up.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, there's times that you don't have another second chance, like in video games, for example. But that's why it's important to take it serious when you're doing something that you're passionate about. Not do it low key, not minding the importance of it, and give it your all.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're doing something that might be a calling in life or something, and we don't give it that seriousness, and it's an opportunity that is gone once it happens. And it could have been different because sometimes there are people that are willing to put faith in you if they know that you have it in you, even if you're not succeeding at it. So it's a composition of a lot of elements too.
Yeah. I really like the perspective that you painted. Winners are just losers that never gave up. That is almost magical. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And we don't always. I guess it's not ingrained in our society, and it should. And it's a shame.
Definitely.
Many people get discouraged. Many people get depressed because they're always failing at something X or Y, whatever it might be, and the act of just by doing that, it takes away from what's important, which is analyzing that failure, because that failure is technically, I mean, failure, it's a learning opportunity, and
That's the problem. We have conceptualized failure as a bad thing, and it is not. So much is funny that you mentioned your favorite part is when he's failing and trial and errors. I never perceived those parts as such. To me, when I watch the movie, and I watch it more than a dozen times, that's the building process of the Iron Man.
Mhm.
and it didn't seem like a failure. It seemed more like he's building the machine. I mean, it's not like, oh, let me think on the machine, beep, bop, boop, all together, let's go fly. No, there's a whole process to
Mhm.
get there. And when I'm watching, like when he hits the wall and everything, to me that was no failure. I mean, there's no precedence to what he was making,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know. So I mean, is great example with the life not having a manual, and many things in life. Like sometimes people are gonna have kids and they're like, oh, let me ask my parents. No, your kids are not gonna be the same as you or the kids of other people that are parents around you. It's good to take advice, but it's not like follow that to the T. You gotta go with emotions because of that.
Yeah. But, the reason why I'm saying is because, and I've seen this, many people get depressed because they fail or they're a failure. They call themselves a failure. And I think that is the wrong perspective. I think you should be considering that you're actually learning. Most people don't do that. And
No,
they get fixated on the failure instead of analyzing the failure as a learning opportunity. So the next time they do it, they know what not to do.
true.
And that, yeah, it's to me, it's kind of sad, and it's human nature. I mean, we are ingrained. Uh, Even myself, when something bad happens, the first thing that always comes to mind is that negativity of failure. Um, but I know better to kind of like step back after some time has passed because we are humans. We are all going to do that, and kind of learn from that. But most people take it too hard that they fail at something, so they are not talented on that thing, so they're not going to try ever again, and they move on to something else. We never know if that person would have been a world star if they would have kept on trying. And that's why I said your statement, chaos, was almost magical when you say winners are just losers. And
Well, you just got me to remember another one that I really love, which says, "Don't let your success get to your head, and don't let your failures get to your heart."
yeah, and I've seen it way too many times, and that's the reason why I'm bringing it up, because it in a way it's kind of sad because we're letting our human nature guide us. It is very human to feel depressed when you failed.
Hmm.
We all feel it.
That's why, I really like people that don't change with their situations, because you know that that's how you can tell who's a genuine person too. Sometimes you see that a person goes up in life and they change, but then you see people that doesn't matter where they are down or they're up, they're the same person. They're simple people, and that's the most lovable quality that they might have. Probably
Mm.
is that nothing in life gets changing because they know who they are, which allures to think that most people probably don't know who they really are, you know?
Well, that's also understandable. We're always trying to rediscover who we are.
And too concerned with what other things.
Well, we are creatures that are not. Um, we're happy being one thing. We are not happy with change. That, well, I'm just saying human nature. I'm not saying each individual person. Some people are really good at flowing
Adapting.
with changes and adapting, which is very important.
Yeah.
So and I kind of lost my train of thought here, but um, this actually goes back to the film and how it was even important for the company to 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 actually change with its time, with the times. But that also applies to a person. Just flow with the changes, and take every failure opportunity as a learning experience.
Yep.
Um, okay, I think we kind of went
Mhm.
extra
Went for a wander.
on my perspective, but I really want to hear from you guys. I don't know who wants to go next. If you don't remember, the original question was, what is your favorite scene or scenes, or what was one of the most impressive things to you when you watched this film? And yes, yes, I would have to agree. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please.
Oh, nice.
Well, to me, my favorite scene is not even. It's about the Iron Man decision, but it doesn't involve a super suit scene, and it is when he is turning again Stark's industry because he realized, due to what he went through, the reality and the consequences that come with what he has built. Which one might think, that's hypocritical. But the reality is that most of us humans are like that. We don't tend to really sit down and ponder about things and the effect that they have on until it happens to us or somebody that we care that is close to us. That's the reality of most people. Most people don't ponder and try to think, what is he thinking? Let me be nice. Maybe he's going through a bad day. And that realization to me was to Tony Stark there. That scene was the no turning point when he asked Pepper for help to get the files of Section 16, I think it was, and she didn't want to do it, and she was like, you throwing yourself away, you're doing stupid things. And then he gives her that realization where he understands, and he just tells me, yeah, he might have war, there's people dead, but once he saw it firsthand, is that he really grasped the reality of it. And it might sound ridiculous, but most of us are like that. Most of us are like, oh yeah, he's terrible from mouth outward. We don't really understand or feel that, because I mean, who bothers to sit down and think about those things, you know? We are most of the time in automatic pilot, just going through the motions day by day.
Look at the beginning of the film, how he's like celebrating the fact that he shot one missile and it destroyed almost all the mountains behind him,
Yep.
and not really thinking that there will be people there when they
Yeah.
are shot and they will be all dead.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or
So to
thinking who's going to use it.
exactly, oh, for what purpose, which he realized later on. Dang it, you know. So for me, that was the best scene. That to me defined who Tony Stark and Iron Man became for the rest of the sagas to come.
Awesome.
Oh, you make it hard for me to pick. I mean, there's so many good points in this movie. It's really hard to pick one that really stood out. But I guess, not to copy either of you guys, because you both picked really good scenes, but I guess, picking up the trash and, dealing with what's left, I'd have to say our quote, the final scene of the movie, which basically set in stone that not only is this guy not a superhero, but a hero, but he's willing to own up to it. And he says, look, I've got character flaws. I've made a whole bunch of mistakes, some of them very obvious in the public eye, but, I'm not giving up. I'm continuing on, and fuck it. Yes, I'm Iron Man, and with all these other so-called superheroes who've got to hide in plain sight and pretend to be somebody else because, their loved ones are going to be targeted by the bad guys. Tony Stark just says, nope, fuck it. I'm out here. I'm Iron Man. Screw you, hippies. if you come at me, I'll come at you 10 times as hard.
Yeah.
Just if you think you're ready, you're wrong. He's in their face, and he's like,
Catch me outside.
yeah, he's telling the whole world, if you try and fuck me, I'll fuck back. And he does. Watch the sequels. So yeah, I mean, he's not going to hide. He's not going to pansy around and oh, it was a training accident. Rah rah. No, fuck, it was me. I did it. I own up to it. They're my mistakes. They're my successes. Come at me and I'll deal with you. And that, to me, really cemented what Iron Man was about, at least in the cinematic universe, that he was through with being shallow and fake and a dealer of death. And he changed, done a 180, and he was sincere, down to earth, honest, and ready to kick ass when needed. And he wasn't going to pander to anybody's demands. He was going to be authentic, and I think that's what makes Pepper fall for him, because she knows what he was like, and she wouldn't have gone near him with a 40-foot pole when he was like that. I mean, she worked for him and she appreciated his intelligence and his money, but not him. And then when he started to change, when he had his epiphany, when he decided to go from dealing death to saving people, that's when she fell in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it through the entire cinematic universe all the way up to his death, that she was madly in love with him, because he was a hero. He wasn't a superhero. He wasn't fake. He wasn't hiding as a reporter or what have you. He was Tony Stark. He was Iron Man. And fuck you if you don't.
So I can say with confidence that the three of us here, even though we might like Captain America, we are Team Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, I was Team Tony Stark.
Robert's trying to like Captain America idealist though.
Well, here's the thing. I think the reason is because we are more into sci-fi, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying it because you know that they are always like fighting each other and clashing heads.
Yeah. No.
Him and Rogers.
And I had to point out to Ray that I found out that line, "I am Iron Man," was actually ad-libbed.
Why am I not surprised?
And I'm gonna paraphrase this because I've been reading about this, but the script was mostly completely finished when the film began, when the filming began. But the filmmakers were more focused on the story and the action, so the dialogue was mostly ad lib, which we talked about this in previous episode. If you guys want to hear another example, just go down our back catalog and look for Ghostbusters. It's amazing to me when things that are not planned just fall together. And and they become iconic films. I mean, I would like to call this an iconic film.
For sure.
But I just figure I mentioned that because it's crazy to me, that and it worked for this film, but it's not a recipe for success. Most films would actually crash and burn. But it worked perfectly for this one, and it worked for Ghostbusters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you have to have character actors who get into the characters so much that they can just talk like them. They don't have to be coached with lines on a script from a script writer. They can just be the character on screen. If you can get actors who are that into the character, then yes, it'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Either that, or the actors just playing themselves in every single role they have, and then it makes no difference anyway. But yeah, I mean, character actors are great. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Not sure if any of you would like to add anything else, but I think we could move on to the last question.
Oh, just before you do, I do have one thing to add, and that is Obadiah Stane, who is Tony Stark's foil. Tony Stark is the star, but a star can't achieve much without a really good foil. And Obadiah Stane is played by Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
Now, people may not recognize
Great
Obadiah
actor.
Stane as Jeff Bridges, but Jeff Bridges appears in another IP where he's the star, and that is Tron.
Amazing film.
Amazing pair of films.
Yes.
Tron Legacy. And Tron Legacy is like 2 years younger than this movie. So it came after this movie.
That's how different you might see with and without hair. Wait till I shave my head.
But yeah, I mean, Jeff Bridges is an amazing actor. He's had a huge variety of roles. But yeah, I mean, plays the good guy, plays the bad guy. He's pretty amazing, and I think he does a really good job in this movie. And you don't feel for him at all. He's a prick. His character is a prick.
Yeah.
What I say.
Yep.
And somebody you're happy to see blown up when the arc reactor goes critical. And that's the sign of a good foil and a good actor who played that foil. So got to give Jeff Bridges his due in this movie. He does a very good job.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So I think we can move on to the last question that we ask in this film. And if you're new to the show, the last question that we normally ask is, what is your last impression of the film? I kind of feel bad for Ray. So with our last question, so I don't know if I should, maybe you should go first.
I don't mind.
Go first, Ray.
Yeah, well, I've pretty much made it clear what I think of this movie. It's one of those sleeper epic movies that doesn't hugely stand out, but everything it does well. And if you haven't seen it, I feel sorry for you. Go and see it. Go and watch it. Stream it, buy it, whatever you have to do. It is a really good movie. It has fantastic music, fantastic acting, fantastic special effects, fantastic script. It just works, and it doesn't blow its own trumpet. I mean, Tony Stark blows his own trumpet, but the movie doesn't blow its own trumpet. It just exists as a perfect kicking off point for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I don't think it's often given its dues as a really, really good movie, but it's down to earth. It's not big and flashy, but it gets the job done. And it's just one of those movies that's, if you like Marvel Cinematic Universe at all and you haven't seen this movie, you've really done yourself a disservice, and you should go out and see it straight away because it is really
good. Awesome.
And we're gonna leave you for last, Robert. But I'll be brief, though. I mean, I think that this is one of those movies that don't allow us to hold too much back when we're talking about it. So there's not very many things that we haven't said already that we like about it. I personally think that this movie is the spark that ignited a series of movies that created a universe. And I go as far as to know people that know Iron Man for the Avengers, but they didn't watch before the Iron Man movies, and they still like Tony Stark as one of the best. That's how much of a character, so much that he stands out even within the Avengers. So I think that this movie is one of those that goes down for the history of great movies, and that perhaps did define what special effects well made have become these days. I think that before Iron Man, I'm not saying that there wasn't, but I don't think that there were many movies that look so well, that has so many mechanical components to the character when it comes to special effects. I think that they exploit that beautifully to the point that it looks believable and real.
It's tech porn, basically.
Yes, literally, it
Yeah.
is. It is non-safe for work tech porn.
There was a lot of screwing going on, put it that way, when he was putting on the suit.
You're on fire with the puns today, man. But those are my last thoughts. I mean, I don't think that you haven't seen it, even you haven't seen it, and you're somebody's grandma or grandpa. I'm sure that you know who's Iron Man, and he's probably thanks to Robert Downey Jr. on the suit.
Nice. Um, so my final thoughts. I know it shouldn't be news. Um, he is one of the best, uh, well-known characters, most loved characters. Um, and this film, I'm sure I'm not alone in saying, if by any rare reason, I mean, there are people out there who I know have not watched it. Um, this is one of the movies that has been responsible, in my perception, of attracting new Marvel fans. And that is actually a testament to the type of film that this is. This is a very, very well grounded film. It shows you the reality, and put the superhero perspective in real life, which I really, really appreciate. And it does help that the character is human, and like Ray have many times mentioned, is not a superhero but a hero. It's just a person that is very, very intelligent and has lots of money, kind of like Batman, how we mentioned.
I thought you were gonna say Elon Musk.
So this is very well grounded. It's a type of film that shows you a comic book in a real life scenario, which I really, really appreciate. I do think that most of the films after this in the Marvel universe have accomplished this in one way or the other. Because at least from my perspective, reading the comic books, it felt very much like a superhero. Like superhero comic book is completely outside the realm of our reality, and this is what this film, I think, have done more so than any other film that have come after that. It feels a lot more grounded. I mean, you kind of feel it from Iron Man 2 as well, but I think this did the job in grounding the superhero into a real life scenario, and I really, really appreciate it. Like we mentioned before, my um, my wish that most people would take, uh, as a life lesson from this film. And just saying that out loud sounds so weird, having a life lesson from a film. But that's also another testament to this film. It is, learn from your mistakes. Know that a successful person is successful because of all the failures. And I'm talking about all the failures. You have to have a lot of failures before you actually are successful. And don't feel discouraged, don't feel depressed, because that's part of the process. And this somehow, this film actually shows you that, in a way. And I really appreciate this film for this particular reason. And it's sad to me that most people don't recognize that and do not see that in the film. And that's one of the reasons why I want to point it out. It is the basis of the scientific process. And you know how we all feel about science in this show. So if there's one thing you can take away from this film, it would be learn from your failures, because that's the only thing that is going to make you a better person or a better anything when you apply it to your career.
I got two anecdotes for you, or quotes, or whatever you want to call them. The first one is quitters never win and winners never quit.
Yeah.
Perseverance is key.
Yes.
Life will throw a lot of shit at you. You need to turn the windscreen wipers on and keep driving. If you don't, well, then that's it for you. But the other one, now I think I've just pushed it out of my head with that first one. What was it? I really should have written this down. Poor old bastard brain forgets things.
It happens to me all the time.
Oh man.
I'm going to blame it on age. How about that?
Yeah, so I turned 55 just recently, so I got.
He hasn't updated his drivers.
No, I haven't. It's true. There was another short anecdote, and it's gone. I'll probably remember it after we finish.
So you should go to our Discord server. So you
I'll put it in Discord if I remember it later.
There you go.
Oh, I remember.
There you go. Don't go to our Discord server. No, go.
You can go. I never lose. I either win or I learn.
Yes, that is amazing. That is the view that's how I wish people would take it.
It resonates so much with me. I still need to get the learning part, but
learning is hard sometimes.
Yes, it is.
You got to hit yourself in the head with a hammer quite a few times before you realize it's not a good idea.
or smack the wall,
No, but I mean, there are things. There's a phrase from Jordan Peterson that says, "Know your own damn limitations." Some people don't even try. Like, I wanted to program. I tried it. I know that I'm not good at it, so I move on. But I tried it, Some people don't even do that. And then they're like, oh, what if? So the final message is, don't live your life with the what ifs. Go ahead and do it. Because it's not worth it. Life is only one. And why would you live with the what if when you had so much plenty of opportunity? There is no better time to be alive and exist than now, because technology is so at the access of the hand that there's no really excuse to say you don't know, you cannot learn.
It's because of science.
Yep. We're science. Dun, dun. Ding, 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 ding.
That is one film we should cover. Okay.
Robert Downey Jr. was in Weird Science?
Yes, he was.
Best handsome bully I ever seen.
Oh, it's so cool. I love that film. It brings so much nostalgic memories.
I love that film, bro.
We should do it. We should cover it. It's got science in the name.
Yeah. We have to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll put it on the list.
Okay, so talking about science.
Yeah.
Do we move on?
Segue.
Sci-fi.
And guess what? I've got some science for you.
No.
Yeah. So there's it's almost a throwaway scene when at the beginning of the movie, Tony Stark takes a girl home who was giving him a hard time with questions about
so he gave her a hard time too.
Yes, he gave her a hard time back. That's correct. But she wakes up the next morning and he's already gone off to use his big brain to do other things. And Jarvis starts talking about the weather in Malibu and rah and stuff. And there's all this stuff coming up on the window of like the weather and all that sort of stuff. Let me just share my tab. Now, I don't know when these things came to be.
You guys don't
But
understand. He was reporting.
They're
That's
certainly available now. Transparent LEDs in a window. So you can have a screen in a window that you can see through, much like the scene in the movie, where you can have TV and computer displays, which are transparent, so you can see through them to the back. And I thought this one was really interesting. Interactive transparent train window
nice.
to give kids something to do while they're on the train. And
Other than screaming.
yes, or throwing up in the carriage. Children. But yeah, so this looks a lot like what was actually in the movie. I didn't take a screen cap, but I probably should have. But so basically, this has come along. I'm not entirely sure when, but yeah, we have these now. I'm pretty sure we didn't have them back when the movie was made. So there you go. There's the first one. The second one was now this is from voicebot.ai. God, that's hard to say. I wouldn't want to try and say that 5 times fast. And this is a website that talks about all sorts of things to do with voice-activated AI. And it has a short history of the voice revolution, starting back in 1961, where IBM introduces IBM Shoebox, the first digital speech recognition tool. It recognized 16 words and digits. So, it's got to start somewhere. But it sort of rolls through 1970s, 1990s. I remember when Dragon Dictate came out. It was very popular.
Yeah.
A friend of the pod, Doc Joe Sweeney, is very much a fan of Dragon Dictate when it was the big thing.
I had.
I imagine you Robert were like, goodbye BlackBerry keyboard.
It was really cool. I bought the product, and I remember buying the product continuously every time there was an update. It was almost magical to me that I could actually write a Word document with my voice. It was just amazing.
And then there were people like me that couldn't get the computer to understand my freaking accent, and I gave up on that shit.
Yeah, Australian accents caused it a problem as well because it was keyed specifically to American accents when it first came out. I tried the light version and I just went, nah. I'm more a tactile person. I like to have keyboard. I'm quite a fast typer, so yeah, I still prefer keyboard. But friend of the podcast, Dr. Joe Sweeney, he suffers dyslexia, so his typos are epic. You should see some of some of the stuff he sent me. I've just cracked up because he said entirely the wrong thing. I'm on a mission from dog.
The funny thing is that I know where you are, so we get to actually understand what they're saying, even with the typos already.
I read English, bad English, and typo. Yeah, so it's all good.
Ray,
So yeah,
before you continue, I just have to say, because what you're showing on the screen right now, and for all of you out there who are they're listening, they're not watching, please go into our YouTube channel, subscribed, and this show, if you're listening on the pod, will come up in about a month on YouTube, and you can watch this on the screen. But Ray, what I would have to say is, I miss Cortana.
April 2nd, 2013. Now, just to make it clear, the movie slots in here.
Yeah.
So I love that they included Clippy. They included Clippy.
God, Clippy. Clippy was so interesting at the beginning, and then the novelty wore off very, very fast.
You know where you can still find Clippy images on Xbox when you send some attachment to somebody? There's a little image of Clippy on it.
Oh, nice. Clippy still lives. Long-lived Quibi.
Yeah.
This is completely off topic, but I run a role-playing game occasionally because it's really hard to get the people together who are playing it. It's online, so like two are in Sydney, I'm on the Central Coast, and the last guy is up in the Gold Coast near Brisbane. And when we can manage to get together, I'm running a game, and I think I've mentioned it to you before. It's a game it's a homebrew because they all said to me, "Oh, once characters get powerful, you can't have any fun anymore." And I'm like, "Bullshit! Let me hold my beer. Let me prove this to you."
Bro. I love
So
that.
I said, "Okay, all your characters are going to be OP from the start," and it's called OP. So you're dead now. What? And it's basically an isekai game, and the three characters who are playing, one's a harem protagonist, so he has bugger all powers except to convince people and charm women. So he has like a flame dragon who can transmute into a humanish form, who's one of his wives. He's got half succubus, half vampire princess. He's got the elven princess. He's got an ant queen who he's provided genetic material for. So he's got a harem of completely. It's Monster Masamune basically, except he married all. He married all of them. So that's one character. Another character has recently discovered that the body that he was inserted into, that was very powerful, turned out to be the old Dragon Lord's body. Not Dragon Lord, Demon Lord's body.
Demon Lord.
And the Demon Lord took it back. And he was rescued by the spirit of an alien auditor who was auditing the planet because there was some weird shit going on. So the Galactic Auditing Commission sent her and her sister out to find out what the problem was and deal with it, but they got stuck. So he's now got an alien body that has been provided, and he's managed to return to the party. So he's gone from running around in the Demon Lord's body to running around in an alien body. So there's aliens and spaceships in this isekai now. So it has some sci-fi elements. So I feel justified in bringing it up during the podcast. But yeah, it's very funny.
Wow.
Just jumping back to this image for a minute. So the movie slots in around here at 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So 2008, we had Microsoft Clippy, Dragon Dictate, speech recognition features for Office XP. If anybody remembers Office XP, it was all that. 2008's there. And then we have 2011, Apple's introduction of Siri. So that was sort of like the first Jarvis-esque, able to control devices in your home with your voice. Certainly not Jarvis capable, but Jarvis-esque.
Through this, just now with ChatGPT voice, is that we're getting close to what Jarvis is.
I think Jarvis is more intelligent.
It is. I'm saying the closest.
Yeah.
It's the closest. So we haven't even reached that.
So July 9th, 2012, Google Now, Cortana in 2013, Amazon Alexa and Amazon Echo in 2014, and it continues on, Amazon Echo Dot, which my son has one of. You've got Google Home over here in 2016, 2017, Samsung Bixby. Google Home can recognize 6 devices in 2017, and it only goes to 2017. So I mean, obviously this was made in 2017, but this would continue on, and there'd be a whole bunch more stuff. The rise of ChatGPT and all that sort of stuff would be down under here. So this isn't complete. There's way more to it from recent times, obviously, but yeah. So it's very interesting that Jarvis was back here before Siri even became a thing. So I feel that there may have been some either either they'd spoken to tech pundits and got an idea and ran with it in the movie, or maybe the movie influenced. It's a bit hard to say whether it's like imitating art or vice versa.
Yeah.
And the last one that I wanted to bring up today, now, where did I put it? So many tabs open. Always so many tabs open. Window. Sorry, I gotta find my tab. Here we go. So that's the one there. Share. Right, here we go. Okay, so July 20th, 2016. So if you remember that timeline, it's 8 years after the movie. Lab discovers titanium gold alloy that is 4 times harder than most steels.
Wow.
Do I need to go past the title? I mean, it talks about, you know, a 3-to-1 mixture of titanium and gold with a specific atomic structure that imparts hardness. Now, if you remember back to the movie, it was a titanium gold alloy that Tony Stark put on the outside of his Iron Man suit to improve the rigidity and the hardness without increasing the weight. And it also had some thermal radiating properties to reduce the icing problem. So basically, this was discovered 8 years after the movie came out with that very thing. So that's very interesting. Much like, if you remember, Star Trek talked about aluminium that you could see through.
Yes.
And it is actually being created now. So
it's on the. I think
about 6 years ago.
I think it's in ISS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It's sort of like, instead of, you know, if you have a plane fuselage which is made of aluminium, and then you've got double layered glass windows, which, you know, the glass is thicker than your hand, and there's 2 of them, and there's an air gap to try and improve the rigidity. You don't need that anymore. Once they manage to get it cheap enough for mass production, then you'll have aluminium all the way around. It's just that parts of it will be see-through. So, I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting.
Nice.
And that's what I've got for today's. But so you can check that one out. It is in physics.org, lab from 2016. So it's a while back.
And the other one is in voice but AI. Voice but that AI.
Yes. You need the dot, or it's just not going to work.
Nice.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Science Fiction Remnant. We really enjoyed talking about Iron Man. It took us a long time to get here, but we've dipped our toes in the Marvel universe. So I expect we'll now be having a lot more Marvel movies coming along. So if you're into Marvel movies, keep an eye out for more of those. If you'd like to tell us which Marvel movies we should cover, because, you know, there's lots of different options, you could drop into our Discord and let us know your opinion, or your opinion on this one, or any of our back catalogue, because we have lots of episodes now. It's over 200 now, isn't it, Robert?
Yeah.
So there's plenty to listen to. So there's a Discord link, which is on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the pod, it will be in the show notes. You can find the Discord link. Come and join us on our Discord channel. We'd love to have you. Tell us about your favorite sci-fi. If we haven't covered it, we'd be interested in looking into it. And of course, if you'd like to join us on the show, you're quite welcome to be our IP expert for that episode. And you can wax lyrical about your favorite IP and tell us all the good stuff about it, because you probably know way more about it than we do. So we'd like to hear about it. We have a couple of websites. We have sciencefictionremnant.com, one word. There you will find our currently released episode and our back catalogue. You can also find articles that have been written on science fiction and science topics which are of interest to us, you'll find writings from both the hosts and guests. And if you would like to write an article, if you have something in science or science fiction that you think is interesting and people would like to know about, it doesn't have to be particularly long. A couple of minutes to read is fine. Drop us online and let us know, and throw us a draft, and we'll see what we can do about adding it to the list. So that's on sciencefictionremnant.com. We also have another website that's in its infancy at the moment. It is thisissci-fi.net. That one is for sci-fi creators. You can jump on there and let us know about your stuff. You can add to the content of that website, and we like to build it up for those sci-fi creators to get the word out there about the awesome stuff that they're creating, and also podcasters who are in the sci-fi genre who want to get people to know about their productions as well. We do have a Patreon. It's in its infancy as well, but if you would like to support the podcast, we'd really appreciate it. For a small monthly donation, you could get on board there, and being that it's new, you could be involved in giving us ideas about what you would like as far as rewards are concerned. So if you'd like to be on the ground floor of that one, please do consider it and drop us a line and let us know. If a monthly help with the podcast is a little bit too far out of your reach, and of course with the financial side of things, the way they are with inflation, it could be a bit rough for people to do that. We understand, but if you would like to make a one-off donation to the podcast, we have a Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link on the screen there now. Geo is always in need of coffee. You know, you can't have chaos without caffeine. So please consider dropping a few shekels in the Buy Me a Coffee to help Geo stay awake, so that he can give us a hard time about things. Because we all need that. If you'd like to leave us a message, you can call our hotline. It's 1305-563-6334. That's 1305-563-6334. Please leave us a message there. We always love to hear from you guys. Feedback is always important to us. And of course, we will play that message on the following podcast if you're amenable, and talk around what you've said. And of course, if you'd like to come on and talk about it, you can. We're always happy to have guests on the pod if you can make our recording time. But thank you all for joining us. As I've said, please check out our back catalogue for IPs that we have covered in the past that you may well enjoy. You may discover something new. It's, I know that, you know, it's comfortable to live within a silo of one particular IP, and you know everything about it, and you're the boss and all that sort of stuff. But that just means that you're missing out on so much more. If you become an enjoyer of all things sci-fi, and of course you're listening to this podcast, so hopefully you are an enjoyer of all things sci-fi, there's so much more to discover and enjoy. We know it because we're always doing it, and we'd like you to join us. So check out our back catalogue and find something else that you'd really enjoy while you're waiting for the next season of your favorite show, much like Robert's wife. Also, feel free to reach out to us on Discord. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to cover that we haven't gone through yet. We're always looking for recommendations because we love all things sci-fi. We hope you do too. And we hope that you will join us on the next edition of Science Fiction Remnant, where we'll cover something else that's totally awesome. Catch you then. Bye for now.
See you next time.
Bye.